Hi everyone, it's Olga Zarr from SEO Sly. This is SEO Podcast by SEO Sly. Today I have a special guest. This is Martina. How should I pronounce your surname? I don't want to try and fail.
Oh wow, that's Zrzavá Libřická, but it's not probably important.
Like a little bit similar to mine. Yeah, I
Yeah,
am similar.
yeah.
Okay, Martina, so how are you doing today? SEO Sly, SEO done right. I'm Olga Zarr, an SEO consultant in SEO since 2012. Don't forget to subscribe to learn SEO for free with me. Now let's get into the show. Hey.
Well, busy.
Busy, yeah. I know the pain. Yeah, I know the feeling. Okay, Martina, I know something about you. I've been following you for some time. So you are, I would say, quite a name in SEO and in women part of SEO. So for people who don't know you, can you like briefly introduce yourself in a couple of sentences in case someone doesn't know you yet?
Yeah. So I'm Martina. I'm from the Czech Republic, and
Neighbor.
yeah, exactly. And I would say that most of my career, I was always working from the Czech Republic, but usually for international companies. And 2 years ago, or well, probably not even that long, I started doing SEO in my own market. I started freelancing,
Oh,
and I soon realized that things are not the way I was used to in SEO industry in my country and in Czech and Slovak republics.
uh-huh.
But the
Oh,
good thing is that I have experience from international SEO. I have a good experience with cooperating cross teams, etc. And this is something that I'm trying to help my clients with, and I am also trying to mentor CEOs in my country that they can
mm,
do the same.
yeah.
But let's say there are hurdles and a lot of obstacles. I would
Uh-huh.
say that the industry in the Czech Republic, and if some Czech SEOs will see this, they are going to hate me for it, and I'm pretty sure that they will call me out on social media. But there's a lot of things that we need to improve in that industry, and I see it all the time. These advices, etc. It's just something that abroad was maybe working like 10 years ago, and it doesn't work even in the Czech Republic. It's just that if people are selling their services in a way
Uh-huh.
that I think should just be forbidden.
Yeah, this is super interesting because I can totally relate to that because definitely SEO in Poland is way different from SEO for the US or for the UK. So this is something I hope we'll talk in just a second. I've just noted that down because yeah, this is going to be very interesting as well. So when did you start your SEO journey exactly?
In 2011.
2011. Okay. So you are like a big fish, I would say, with a lot of experience.
I would say the longer I'm in SEO, the more I am aware of how many things I just don't know, and I will probably never know.
Yeah, I have the exact same feelings. I also started around that time. And I remember I took a course. It was, I'm not sure if you're familiar, Site Build It. There was this kind of platform you could build a site. They taught you
Mhm.
SEO, keyword research. And I took this course. I built a bunch of websites. They started to rank. And I was sure then, after maybe a year, that I know everything. I don't need to know anything else. I know everything. And now, 10 years plus, I feel that I have never known less than
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
now. So,
But the truth is that back in 2011, 2012, it was completely different
yeah,
discipline. I mean,
that's
the
true.
fundamentals, they're still the same. Like, we still build SEO on the same basics, but it's so complex now. It's so different.
Yeah. There are so many moving parts,
Yeah,
other factors like back then you followed the recipe and it would work. Now
yeah,
it will or
exactly.
it won't. Okay, so we have a bunch of like topics to discuss, but can you tell me more about your freelancing? Like what types of clients do you work with? Are you like solo or do you have a team?
Yeah, no, I'm solo.
Uh
Well, I have
huh.
my virtual assistant, but that's more for like administrative work. because she can
Uh-huh.
help me with SEO related tasks.
Uh-huh.
So it's just me. I started freelancing, let's say by an accident, because so I had a baby in 2021 and I was home for about 18 months. I
Uh-huh.
started working already. I started to do a bit of freelancing after like 10 months after she was born. And I didn't want to get back to my old job. And luckily, my position became redundant, which was
Oh.
great. So,
Uh-huh.
well, a lot of people might be sorry for me. Don't be. First, I wanted that, and second, in Europe, if your position is being redundant, you usually get a goodbye package because you have to.
Oh.
So I received that goodbye package, so it was good. But all of a sudden, I became the only bread giver because my husband was replacing me on the parental leave, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a stable job. And freelancing like 100%. That means it's very different from being employed, right?
Yeah, 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 totally, totally. Especially
So
at the start.
yeah, so this is how I started, and I think if I had to make the decision on my own, I probably wouldn't do it that fast.
Oh,
So I'm just happy things turned out this way. Of course, the
yeah.
beginnings were a little bit difficult because when I started, I had like one client,
Mm-hmm.
but I was invoicing a lot right from the start. I was invoicing enough what I had to invoice, and it was just getting up. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like having one client for starters, this is actually great. A lot of people start with no clients. They have to like
Mm,
work kind of for free for many months before they can get a client. For me, I was like doing it in parallel. I had a job and then I was building a client base before I
oh
made
god,
the
that must have
final
been so
the fi-
exhausting.
the final jump. Yeah, I
Oh
have
god,
never been so exhausted in my whole life
I wouldn't either.
than back then when I was having basically two jobs and clients. But I also like put an end to that, and I think this was the best decision. And can you tell me like what types of clients do you work with? You mentioned at the start that at first you were doing international SEO in your previous SEO jobs, right?
Mm.
And now you mostly do local, or is it like a mix?
Well, it's like a mix. So I when I started freelancing, I had a very large e-commerce project that was just Czech and Slovak. But eventually, I acquired different clients. I also acquired B2B clients working in industry, which is I would say it's a lot of work, but I really like it because it's different from selling bed cheese and shampoos, etc.
Uh-huh, yeah, definitely.
Nothing against e-commerce, but I think there's been too much e-commerce in my life before.
Okay, okay. So I
So,
understand you have a lot of
yeah.
e-commerce
So now I prefer
experience.
like a little different clients. I also sometimes serve very small clients.
Mm-hmm.
I know that from a cash flow perspective, it's probably not the best step. But on the other hand, they also need help with SEO.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
do not find clients actively. So they usually reach out to me on LinkedIn or based on recommendation from someone else. So if it's them who feel like we need SEO and they clarify why, and I see like it has a potential, like it's meaningful for them to invest into SEO, I usually cooperate with them because these are very interesting projects, just so much different from anything else.
Yeah, yeah. I have the same experiences here, and a big, I would say, advantage of having a small client, especially the one who reaches to you and knows the need for SEO, is that you are usually free to do anything you want with the site. Very
Yeah,
often you are given access and you can just do all the magic. And
that's
with
true.
bigger ones, it may take years before they update the title tag or something like that.
Yeah, it depends.
It depends,
I
yeah.
mean, it
Like
depends whether they have internal or external dev team and how to
yeah.
talk to them and whether they're willing to cooperate and they have contracts that force them to cooperate.
That's true. That's true. I have a lot of experience working for e-commerce. I worked for Procter and Gamble for many years, and I remember that very often I created tons of audits, recommendations. I don't know how many percent a small percent of that actually got implemented. But that's how it is, the realities of big e-commerce websites.
Yeah, well, I
Okay.
worked for IKEA. It was very
Uh,
similar.
oh, I also had one project for that as well. Nice. So let's talk now. I think we have two emerging topics for now. Let's talk about the differences between SEO, the state of Google in Czech versus English US. Like, what differences, what challenges do you see? Like, and you said that people will not agree with what you are going to say. Can you now tell us more about that? Those thoughts you have?
So just to give a context, so we have two search engines in the Czech Republic, or basically we have more, but we have also our own search engine, which is called
Uh-huh.
Seznam. And
Uh-huh.
majority of people are now searching on Google. Some people are using Bing, especially now with this, AI that Bing implemented into their search. But still, there's a certain group of people, let's say, who are using Seznam. So in some industries and niches, we have to track like all these search engines.
Uh-huh.
And well, I don't have clients for whom these search engines would be important, but there are still niches where it is. It's just the
Uh-huh.
niches that I don't work for, because I don't
Uh,
do like non-banking stuff, etc.
Uh-huh.
Loans. I
And the
call them.
percentage of Google versus this other search engine, like how many do you
I
know
think
how
I
many?
think well, we don't have the current data, but like 2 years ago, it was Google was nearly 80%.
Oh, so that's
Yeah,
not a
so
lot. In Poland, I think it's 98 or something like that. So yeah. So it isn't like that far. And like the differences in SEO, like tell me more about that.
yeah, I'll tell you more about that. So online catalogs are still a thing here,
Uh-huh.
which shocks me because it's a little bit against the spam policies, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, I guess.
And yeah, and what I noticed recently, because I didn't believe it, but a friend of mine who's also an SEO in the Czech Republic, he told me that there are companies specializing in sending invoices to people who never paid for the service just to be in the catalog. And there's a small like clause saying that if you pay it, you're signing a contract and you're agreeing.
Oh.
It's difficult to cancel it. And people, they
Oh.
usually pay it. They don't know they don't have to pay for it. And this is how these companies are actually making money here. And I'm shocked
Yeah.
that these things are still happening. But that's not everything. What I've noticed is that also some Czech link builders are also putting links to these catalogs, and companies pay a lot of money for that, but it's just shit, and Google knows it. So it doesn't even
Oh.
give it a relevance. So
Uh-huh.
I'm always very unhappy seeing like how things work here in the industry, because I see clients like paying for a lot of stuff that is just not okay. I see a lot of CEOs providing keyword research for the clients, and that's just an Excel. Usually, it's not even cleaned. It's full of words that should
Expert
not be
from.
there. That should not be there because it's not relevant to their industry nor their business, etc. And sometimes it can have like several thousands, of lines, and
Oh.
there's no context.
Yeah.
And then you ask the client how much they paid, and it cost them really a lot of money. And they ask you like, what are we supposed to do with it? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't provide it. I personally don't know what I would do with it.
Yeah, a lot of scammers. Yeah. I'm not
So
sure
this,
about the yeah, yeah. I'm not sure about the state of like directory listings, those types of things in Poland, because to be honest, I don't do Polish SEO. I did for some time when I was still at the agency side a little bit, but I know that in Poland, but I'm not sure if it is only in Poland. There are a lot of people who will do something bad to your Google business profile, get you banned, and then they would call you and offer services, they will offer you to kind of restore your Google business profile, even though they were the ones who made you
That's
got you
right.
out of there. So I
Well,
know
maybe that's also happening here. I just never heard of it, but everything.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I know this is for sure happening, and a lot of other similar things, but this one for sure. And even recently I received, but this is like to my email, which is like for the US. I received like final notification from a non-existent lawyer saying that I'm infringing some images on some website. I have to pay. But the fact is that on my website, I only have my own screenshots. So it is like hardly possible for me to, even if I wanted. Anyway, funny story. And regarding the how easy or how difficult it is to rank in Czech Republic versus in the US, like do you see the differences?
It depends.
Uh-huh. On
No, well, it really depends on the industry and the competitiveness of the niche. But I would say in the US it's harder because there's still like when it comes to competition, there's way more companies you need to outbeat in the
Yeah,
search.
yeah, definitely. Like same here in Poland, I would say. Even like domain ratings, whether we believe in that or we don't, like the domain ratings of websites that rank for even very competitive Polish keywords usually are in 30s or something. So
Well, that's same in the Czech Republic actually.
yeah, yeah.
Mm,
So
yeah.
it is, I would say 5-10 times easier to rank a page in Poland, and they say, I'm not sure if that's true, that the algorithm is the most advanced for English queries, and it is not necessarily that advanced for other languages. I haven't verified that, but it seems it kind of makes sense.
It kind of makes sense, but I think that this is something that's now better. I remember because Polish and Czech are they're different languages, but still they're from the same language group.
Mm-hmm.
And what I remember in the past, Google was actually struggling with this. Was that called conjugation? I think you know how the words are changing according to the meaning at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
end.
yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah, and also the verbs are changing um,
yeah,
depending
yeah, yeah.
on what you talk about. So I remember, like a long time ago, was some when I started my career. I think Google was struggling really to get the context, but
Yeah, then there was this update Hummingbird. I'm not sure
yeah,
if I'm not,
yeah,
yeah,
I think
which,
so. And now I see like it doesn't matter, but this is the problem because this is the common myth in the Czech Republic
uh-huh.
that it actually needs to be written in a certain way, otherwise Google won't understand. And some
Oh,
people still do that, and I still see these recommendations, or I hear it from the clients. It's like, so who told you that? And they're like, oh yeah, well, some CEO before you told us that this is how you need to do it. It's like,
uh-huh.
yeah, maybe, back in, I don't know, 2011, 2012, but not now. So I see a
Yeah.
lot of texts and they sound really so unnatural. And then these people are like, oh, we're dropping positions. Do you have any idea why? Have you read your text, maybe?
Yeah, yeah. Even like if I'm reading something in Polish, like even like medical stuff, it is usually so easy to tell that there is a lot of keyword stuffing happening. Like I don't like the quality of most Polish results. Like
Purely written for SEO,
yeah, yeah,
typically.
yeah. Or are totally out of like totally unoptimized. And what's your favorite part of SEO? Like, is it like, I don't know, technical SEO, local SEO? Like, what would you say is your specialty?
I like tech SEO
Why?
because I love cooperating with the developers.
Oh, that's rare,
That's
I
weird.
would
Is it
say.
weird? No,
Uh,
no. I
I,
I really
I, yeah, yeah. Please tell me more about this.
no, well. So I really think that when it comes to SEO and developers, that can be a huge love and affection. It just
Mm,
often doesn't happen because we don't know how to talk with these people. And I was also the one who was just, putting user stories into backlog, and
Uh-huh.
simply nobody was just processing them. But eventually I managed to find a way how to
Mm-hmm.
help developers with my user stories in a way that they would just, put it into in progress. But it took a lot of effort because I had to basically manage to understand how they're working. And
Mm-hmm.
I think I really fully began to understand it because my husband's a project manager,
Oh.
and he's been a scrum master for several years. And I remember when he was preparing for his scrum certification, he was reading a lot of stuff out loud, and I usually hate it, but this was just so interesting. And I was like, so that's how these teams are working, because previously
Ah.
nobody told me that. And I started having a discussion with him about it because I was just curious. Because he was like, why do you want to know? I said, I really think this could help me in my job. And how? Because you're not a developer. No, but I send a lot of stuff I need them to process, and they just don't, cooperate. And maybe this is the way how they could cooperate. So he basically explained me the whole thing, how it works. And the most typical framework they work at is Scrum framework. And I started understanding like what needs to be part of this ticket, this user
Can you
story.
can you tell me like in a like nutshell like what this framework looks like?
So the Scrum framework, it's basically a framework where you have a product owner, and that
Mm-hmm.
product owner owns the product. He's the one who's delivering either to the customer or the stakeholder. Then you have a Scrum Master, and the Scrum Master's role is basically helping the Scrum team, which consists of PO, the dev team, and Scrum Master, to be as efficient as possible and remove all impediments, or helping them remove impediments.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's dev team, and the dev team delivers product to the client, and also delivers the increment to the product owner.
Uh-huh.
And when I began to understand how they cooperating, because people usually want to speak with dev. It's possible, but there are certain meetings where you can do it. It's not like you just write to the developers and you expect them, to speak with you on a chat. Okay, sometimes these things can happen, of course. It just depends how the teams agree on it. But I remember these frustrations like, oh, we're sending them emails and they do not react. Yeah, because there's a ticketing system. No
Uh,
one's going to talk to you unless you, put everything into
uh-huh.
the ticketing system. And also, when it comes to user stories, it just needs to be named properly. It needs to have a definition of done. It needs to have a proper description. There needs to be very proper and thorough guidelines about why we do it, what we do, what's
Uh-huh.
expected, and how it's relevant or what impact it has on business.
Uh-huh.
Because this is something that they usually lack if they don't know what impact it has for the business. And the product owner, when product owner doesn't see that there's enough increment, it will just put the user story down to the backlog because there will always be something with higher priority.
Mm-hmm.
That's very
Yeah.
much in a nutshell. It's a little bit more complex, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can imagine. I know little about it, but yeah. Yeah. And what about, because the biggest challenges I have had with developers so far is that they often don't know anything about SEO. So
yeah.
very often in many cases my role, especially at the agency side, was to educate the developers about SEO. I even used to do some trainings at the agency for just for developers, teaching them about headings, like all those things. And once they actually like learned those things, the the cooperation actually became, I would say, way better, smoother. And ticketing system, yeah, definitely they need to, they most of them it is hard to with most of them it is hard to communicate via email, I would say, but of course there are exceptions for sure. And talking about technical SEO and kind of how things are changing, how fast they're changing. Like I went for vacation back in January for 2 weeks. I got back and so many things were happening in just 2 weeks. How do you keep up? How do we keep up? Like, what is your story? What's your recipe for that?
I think I don't. No, seriously, I feel like this person, chasing Shinkansen by running. This is not real. Or I feel like this hamster in that, what is that?
In the wheel,
The wheel.
wheel,
Oh yeah.
wheel, yeah.
This is how I feel usually like about
Uh-huh.
keeping up. Because it feels like so I receive quite a lot of newsletters, but still like every is unique, delivering some unique information. And then I read it. But it's like you read something, then you start thinking about something else. Then you
Yeah.
want to discover it, and then you realize, oh boy, I also have to make a living. I just can't keep
Yeah.
educating myself all the time. So this is really difficult for me.
Yeah, I have the same issue. I wish I could spend, I don't know, at least half of my time learning and reading. That would be so awesome. I had this kind of I promised myself to learn SEO for an hour every day before I start work. But very often I just open the computer, log in, I jump into one client, and the entire day goes by. And I don't have kids, so I would say, more flexibility. You mentioned you have a baby, so and I guess most people do. So how do you manage to 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 still, because you are up to date, you are successful, so you even if you feel like a hamster in the wheel, you are successful. So how do you do that? How do you marry those
So
commitments?
now it's easier because my husband's on parental leave and I am the only bread giver. But I remember the time when I was a stay-at-home mom,
Mm-hmm.
and I always planned my day. I always thought she would take a nap and I just could, go through something, etc. But then she wasn't sleeping, or she took a nap and I had to, do the laundry, and I just couldn't educate myself. And that was just difficult because I sometimes just went on LinkedIn and I saw another algorithm update, another news, another feature insert was like, oh boy, like, will I still be able to, start working again and like delivering?
Uh-huh.
And that was like a fear. I think a lot of people have this experience too,
Yeah,
because
definitely.
it's just difficult. Because basically, when you're a stay-at-home parent, you're usually cut off completely uh, from work, from everything. All you do is you're taking care of a child. Okay, sometimes you have a nanny, or sometimes someone offers you to take care of the kid for a while, but that's usually time you need to do something for yourself so you don't get nuts.
Uh-huh.
And you don't have, or I didn't have a capacity to go through SEO news. And when I had, I always just felt so desperate
Uh-huh.
because I had a feeling like, oh boy, everything's changing. And what am I going to do? Because I just couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
Now it's a
Something.
little bit better, but still it's you work. And this is what you mentioned. I also had this ambition, having these blockers in my calendar for personal development, but they always ended up just differently.
Yeah, like it rarely goes exactly according to the plan, for sure. Yeah, one thing that is helping me is listening to SEO podcasts, because usually you can do that while doing something else, right? Why I often listen to SEO podcasts while I'm running. So it is kind of, you can just kill two birds with one stone, as they say, in this way. but still even going through, because I was sending my newsletter today, so I needed, I don't know, 4 hours or more to go through all the news and choose the best ones. And I cannot say I have read everything from start to finish. That is simply not possible,
I listen to
unfortunately.
podcasts sometimes when I go to
Uh-huh.
clients because I work from home.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go to clients, I usually travel by train. So I listen to podcasts.
Oh,
I was actually trying to listen to podcasts in the car with my daughter. Uh, she wasn't so enthusiastic about it. I was like,
so she
Mom,
liked that.
I want Baby Shark. So,
Yeah, so maybe she's going to be an SEO. That's
no, I don't think so. She didn't like it. She just wanted Baby Shark and
Oh, so
Halloween
she
songs,
didn't.
etc. So no.
Okay. Yeah, maybe she will in some time if she listens enough to that.
Honestly, Olga, I think that when my daughter is adult, I don't think we will be doing SEO.
Yeah,
I think
probably
it will
this
be
will
very
be
different.
something else. Yeah. AIO, AIO.
Yeah,
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 or
exactly.
something like that. And so you are an independent SEO consultant, and your start wasn't that smooth and easy. Can you talk about like the mistakes you made in your journey while being an SEO consultant? Something you can other people can avoid doing?
You mean the freelance one? Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah,
definitely,
yeah.
yeah. So I had a contract right from the start, and that was the best invested money. I think I always work um, with clients that only sign the contract and NDAs with me. But I see
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people around me who don't do it, and eventually they're very unhappy. I would
Uh-huh.
say because clients just pay, and then all of a sudden they, for example, stop paying, and it's difficult, getting money from the clients without pay contracts. What I remember I was doing wrong from the beginning, I when it came to pricing, I
Uh-huh.
often didn't realize that projects are just so different, and that sometimes it took me a lot more time to do the same thing on project B than on project A.
Yeah.
Even though the project B looks smaller, it was just more time consuming.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is something that I am working with. And what really helped me was tracking time on everything, just to really see like how much time I'm spending on certain things.
Yeah, I also do that. How do you track your time?
In Toggle,
In what?
in Toggle,
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I
But there's a
use.
lot of time trackers, and I'm writing down, even when I'm preparing, for example, because I also do trainings and workshops. So even when I'm preparing for these trainings and workshops, I just track it down. Because next time, a client asks for a training or a workshop, I can imagine briefly, like,
How long it will.
how long time I will need to allocate my resources on
Yeah.
preparation.
So do you usually charge per project or per hour?
I charge per hour, but, and this is also something that I need to reconsider. I am thinking of starting charging also some packages, or more
Uh-huh.
likely that people would have like prepaid hours or prepaid services on monthly basis, but they would have to sign up for, let's say, 12 months or something.
Mm-hmm.
And if they wouldn't use it, they just would have to still pay, but wouldn't use it. Because, working on our basis, so okay, I have some long-term clients, and there's a lot of work on them. So let's say I always know that I will manage to invoice and earn the money that I need. But on the other hand, if some of these clients leave, and they wouldn't leave from month to month because we have contracts and there's like some leaving period for both of us, it means I would need to acquire another client. And it depends whether that's just going to be like one time job. Because in the Czech Republic, not all the clients understand why continuous SEO is important, and they're also not willing to pay for it. It's not like abroad, because abroad it's a common practice that when you acquire a client, you are with that client for quite a long time. But in the Czech Republic, I also have a lot of clients where it's just like one-time job that takes like 1, 2, maybe 3 months, and then it's over. They are not willing to invest more. They don't have budgets for SEO to do it continuously. And they understand why it should be done continuously, but let's say that their management doesn't give them more money for SEO. So there's nothing you can do about this. So I'm still thinking of how to improve that for myself, because I do it just for myself, right?
Yeah, sure. Sure. And about contracts, so in most cases, I have contracts as well, and it is usually the client who wants to sign the contract. And I also thought at first that would protect me from like the client abandoning me out of the blue. But I had a case where I had a 3-month notice period, and the client, something changed with them, and they said, we need to stop right now at this moment. We will come back when we can. And I could say, wait, we have 90 days. But I just thought, okay, they need to, okay, I'm okay. I don't care about the contract at this moment. I will wait, because if I said that to them, probably that would ruin our relationship, and I'm not sure if they would be willing to come back after those 3 months. So kind
And
of
did
this.
they come back?
Yes,
Okay.
after 6 months, I think. I don't remember exactly. Yeah. So, but I also had a case where the client stopped, and it is like stopped up until now. So they do come back, they don't, but like, from a practical standpoint, probably it is wiser to kind of respect this notice period for everyone, right?
I also require advance payments.
Yeah, me too.
I
Like,
used to require 50%, but now I require 100. And if they pay 3 invoices like consecutively on time, then I don't require that. Or
okay.
it's not 100%, but it's less. But let's say they need to deserve that.
They need to earn, that privilege. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
And also, like, so I have like an hourly rate. And when it comes to contract, and when it comes to ordering the services, what I do for a price we either agree on, or I have an hourly estimation how long it's going to take, and then I track it and invoice what I actually spend on that job. But if they ask me to do something extra that we didn't agree on and they didn't order, I charge them a lot more than is my hourly rate.
Yeah, makes
And
sense.
and now I am also thinking uh, to incorporate into my pricing. I don't know what they call it in English, but let's say that you allocate your time and you book your calendar, and then client all of a sudden last minute decides that it can be done. So I want to charge them 50% of this anyway, especially if it's like last minute call. Because if it's last minute, I always don't manage, to do something else for other clients. Because, for example, they know that they have time to give me what I need from them, So I'm thinking of doing this because it sometimes happens with certain clients, and it doesn't mean I would charge 50%, but then they would still have to pay the full price because they would now for the time they got wasted.
Yeah, totally. I have a question. If you can talk more about how are you managing those projects which were underpriced? Because I had this situation many times But recently I had a very like serious situation. So I had a client. The client was supposed to get money from the government. We agreed on a sum. This was the sum they were supposed to get. It was supposed to be for a year. Then I think we signed the contract, and then it turned out that the amount they would get is 30% of that, and the client didn't want to like add from their own money. So we were left with this 30% of the budget for 3 websites. And it is like almost impossible for me to do anything. The contract has been signed. A few months have passed, and the client and there are a lot of things to do, and I am saying the client, we need to do this, that, but I have to charge you extra for that because it isn't even included in the contract, and the client is getting angry. So how do you manage such situations?
Well, so if it would be the client where I would be explaining why they need to pay more and they wouldn't be willing to pay more, but they would still expect me to deliver the same like was agreed in a contract. I think sometimes, wasting energy where it just doesn't make sense is not useful.
Yeah.
So if you see that there's no mutual agreement, or if you see that there are no synergies and they just expect you to do it free of charge, just leave and just use this energy on some other client.
Yeah, but it has been paid for this entire period in advance. So in advance.
Yeah, but
So
just those 30%, no?
yeah.
Yeah, so you did 30% of your work and then you're done if they don't want to pay more, no?
Yeah, you're right.
What I usually ask clients when they, because I had some clients when I gave them the price and they were like, if it could be cheaper, I was like, so does it mean you want me to do the job just 30% of the
Yeah.
job? Oh, no. I'm like, yeah, but this is how it works. If you want to pay less, this is how it works.
Yeah, totally.
And that's when they realize that they don't want you to provide just part of it. But some
Yeah.
clients never realize it, so then it doesn't make sense to stay with them, I would say.
Yeah, totally. Like it inspired me to record a video about what is an ideal SEO client and not an ideal SEO client. It just popped into my head. Okay, so a few final things, like what are the tips you would give someone who is just starting out and thinks about being a freelancer consultant in the future? What would be your number one tips for such a person?
Hmm. Definitely believe in yourself. If you think you're good, don't sell your job cheap, because I was doing from the beginning.
Yeah, me too. Everyone was.
And then I skyrocketed my hourly, right? And everybody thought I was expensive. That's also not good for your current clients because they won't like it. If you make your services way more expensive in a couple of months' time, they will probably be very unhappy about it. Mine
Yeah.
were, but they accepted eventually. But it was, we had a lot of discussions about it, and I didn't like it. So know your price. It's better to start with higher price. And if you feel like you're not acquiring enough clients, you can always go down. But it's worth going from very cheap to more expensive.
Definitely.
So this is what I would probably do differently now, having the experience with it. Make sure to have a good bulletproof contact. Take it as an investment.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, when it comes to pricing projects, think of buffers on every single thing you do, and maybe you will be better at it than I am. But 20% buffer is the least minimum, I would say.
Totally. There are few projects in my entire career which I overestimated instead of underestimated, really. Maybe I'm just bad at this. Okay. And what's the best place to follow you, find you, your website, anything you have?
So you can follow me on LinkedIn. You can find me on my
I'll add
name.
the link. Yeah.
Yeah. And the website, so it's still in construction. Because
Oh,
Martina's so busy, so
that's
started,
that's a good sign.
yeah,
Yeah.
I started my freelancing career out of nowhere, basically. And ever since I always wanted to build a website, but then, I am busy. I have life, so there's never enough time for my own personal, branding. But I'm working on it.
I would say that's a good problem to have.
Oh, well. Well, I was actually worried because I was always thinking like, yeah, so I'm selling SEO services and I don't have a proper website and my clients are not going to like that. No one ever asked me about it.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is which is just so strange.
Yeah,
But
but
my problem is I could just, do it on WordPress and have it tomorrow, but I have like I exactly know how I want things
yeah,
to be.
yeah, it has to be
That makes it
perfect.
so complicated. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Totally.
I
And
always I always
eh,
advise clients to just run MVP and then we'll see, but that's not exactly what I'm doing here. So
okay, okay, cool. And one question I forgot to ask. What are your thoughts regarding the two biggest SEO updates that happened recently? Like, what are your observations based on your
so
clients?
yeah, so when it comes to my clients, well, they don't produce like spam content, etc. So they weren't hit. They don't do any of these like spam practices. So this is
Mm-hmm.
good. But when it comes to the broker update, for some we still see some volatility in positions.
Yeah.
But we see them weekly, so that doesn't mean anything because one week we really go up and the next week we go back to where we were. So
Yeah.
we will
Yeah.
see.
Same here.
But this is
Oh,
good for me because I can always tell them that they can improve their content, and some of them really should. So
this is a good way to motivate clients. Totally. Okay, Martina. So thanks a ton for being my guest. It was a pleasure, a very nice conversation. I think we touched upon very important topics, and I hope to have you on in the future again.
thank you for inviting me
Yeah,
over. I really enjoyed it.
yeah, it was cool. So thanks, and bye bye, everyone.
Bye.